Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Let me thank you all for the support that you all gave to the last video. I mean, the views on that one were astounding. I wish that it had been a happier topic. I'm not happy about Monet Newton's passing and her being the victim of a horrible crime, but you guys did support it and y'all shared it. And I really appreciate that. I'm going to also give another shout out to S Jacques, primarily, and then to the GDN, M. Johnson, and Gail Knight for their support, both financially through the Cash App, and then also because S Jacques is sending these news links. Something else began to reach me. Courtesy of S Jacques, I have seen where Gabrielle Union said that she felt entitled to cheat a long time ago. Like it was okay. Because she'd been the breadwinner in the first marriage, so she cheats, so what? She made the money. And that's a lesson to us because ladies are sitting up and saying you need to make a lot of money and you don't even get to have a second wife. Forget cheating, just you can't even have a second wife. And that's not okay. We don't have time for that. The other thing too was that we can see that she still has some of this demon in her because now she still feels that it is okay to just completely undermine the authority of a husband when he's the breadwinner and to completely undermine the gender identity of another woman's son. And even of her own sons to a certain extent. It's okay for her own sons to like other men and want to bust their booties, but it's not okay for them to like light-skinned women. And as a matter of fact, part of the reason that Steph Curry gets boundary tested is because Gabrielle Union admitted that she got into Aisha Curry's ear years ago, before they even got married. And Gabrielle Union admitted also that she used to be triggered when light-skinned women walked into a room, just walked into a room, and that triggered her. Gabrielle Union ain't the darkest woman on the planet herself, nor is she the palest. She's in the middle, but you see where this goes. Gabrielle Union just has that demon spirit in her. Emasculating men. That's what she's there for. It really doesn't matter. I mean, whether it's Zion Wade, who she encourages to become Zion. I'm not saying that Dwayne Wade is innocent in this. Or if it's Steph Curry, whose wife she encourages to make sure she gets a body count before she marries him and twerk and you get the idea. Try to emasculate him. It'll make a bit of difference. To her, whichever one, what she wants to do is to emasculate at least black men as far as we know. And I'm going somewhere with this because you see, I don't sit up and say that this is every single black woman. AC does, I don't. But I understand why AC does say leave them all alone, even though I don't believe that this every single one. You see, the issue is that it is beyond just America, and it's beyond even just the West. Because of Africa's diversity, you are also going to find places where you've got these damn humiliation rituals and standards that men have to meet. Damn near humiliating for them to qualify to be with some women. Oh, yeah. I can see why in certain, I understand why it is that in some traditional settings, the men feel like they own women. Because of what they had to do to qualify. I mean, there was a rumor at one time that Chechen women didn't want a man that couldn't jump 12 feet high. Now, that's not realistic. But if that's what they're all saying they want a man to be able to do, okay, bitch, if that man can jump 9 feet high, he owns you. F you, he owns you. Because your ass can't jump a foot high. Most human beings can't. An entire foot. Well, I'm sorry, I think it's 2 feet. It's a little bit over a third the height of a human being, adult. most people just can't. It's pretty low. It's not really that high that most people can jump. And these broads are sitting up here talking about a man need to be able to jump this high and that high. And okay, you know what? How about you fuck the shuck up? You can have standards, but you're trying to say that men are useless if they don't meet inhuman standards. Okay, well, guess what? In Africa, uh, you got to go to different parts to find these things, but there's a tribe, I think, called the Hammer tribe, if I'm not mistaken, and they're in Ethiopia. And what they do is they make the backs of cattle slick with boo-boo, and the men have to jump clear over the backs of these cattle. And if they slip and fall, they slip and fall on and into some boo-boo. Then they got to wait another year to try again and qualify. Are you effing serious, man? I'm not going to talk about what the women got to go through, because the thing is that the ordeal that the women have to go through does not involve them having to do something that is impossible. It involves them having to sit there and tolerate something that is useless and painful for no reason. And this is only done to guilt the men into going through their own ritual. Imagine that. That's just one example. Don't get me started on Sudan, in which the women got proverbs that pretty much are emasculating to men. And when I listen to some of these men talk about what they've had to deal with from Sudanese women, I realize, God damn, they emasculate the hell out your ass. And you're not even a mean group of men, but they emasculate your ass. So, the other thing I had to understand and realize too was that, when you look at what Gabrielle Union stated and what you see in certain parts of the motherland scattered throughout, and then you factor in that news story that S Jacques also sent to me, and I thank you for that, about the beating death of Reggie Brown in D.C., and we know that the women were the same race as him because there was no racial disparity between victim and oppressor that was capitalized upon by the news stations. One of the defendants in the trial of his death said, "We were bored." I couldn't see that particular video, but I saw the other one. Another one showed up. "We were bored." What? So they grab a 65-year-old man that's not in the best shape and beat him to death because he didn't scare them too much. When they looked at him, they were not afraid that they couldn't whoop this man. The hell does that show you? The horror and the outrage that you feel is for a specific behavioral class, black man, as you hear me talking about these things. And that is actually very normal and logical, despite the fact that you might feel horror and outrage, because we know that it ain't all sisters like that. S Jacques got me aware of these things. And, I like to tie in things together that you didn't think were related and show you what they teach us. Y'all know that's what I do. I land the jet black aircraft, and well, I'm about to land this one. I was scrolling down, and in the course of this, Skylar Derouen's video came up about why he ain't going to Africa, or at least not to live there. And it dawned on me. A lot of brothers ain't going to Africa because even though you got baddies on every continent, I mean, if they're looking for families and that sort of thing, or just girlfriends, they're not looking for any kind of match, whether it's for a family or just to pay for play or just to fornicate, which I'm not advocating. But they're not looking for women, period, on the continent of Africa for a particular reason. And it dawned on me what the hell it is. In South America, you can get sisters or admixtures of them. and they could be bad. They could be nice looking, but you know what? One of the things he said is they're accessible. Now, there is such a thing as too accessible, but there's also such a thing as not accessible enough. And only one of them drives men away, even good men. Only one. Well, two of them will drive good men away. One will drive men away. When you get into the continent, and really just black nations in general, you get there and there's something that you will notice. While you got sisters that are baddies, you will quickly see a strong relationship between good looks and a nasty, filthy, stank, funky attitude. And it does not start at the level of being drop dead gorgeous. It starts at the level of being cute. She has a cute face, nasty, filthy, stank, funky attitude. Now, this is something that happens in many human societies, regardless of race. I won't say regardless of culture because culture affects it, but regardless of race, you can see this tendency. But when you were dealing with black nations, black populations, you were going to see this in black women at a lower threshold of beauty. We got the same beauty and the same ugliness as any other population, but we do not have a reasonable relationship compared to others between beauty and a bad attitude. We have an exaggerated relationship between her beauty and a bad, filthy, stank, funky attitude. And that's why it is that sisters are losing with black men. Now, they're losing with other men because they're black. Wide nose, big lips, 4C hair, dark skin, that's it. These other men are looking like, if I do like it, I wouldn't tell anybody. That's how they are. I mean, it's like being a fat white chick, honestly. Well, I mean, it's like being a fat woman of their own race. If they do like them, they wouldn't say anything to anybody about it. But I also want you guys to notice that when it comes down to sisters, Nigerian, Liberian, Ghanaian, Congolese, Angolan, Namibian, South African, that when they're nice to look at, you can tell, you can bet money they're going to have a nasty, filthy, stank, funky attitude. And even in South America, where, let's say in Medellin and Rio, we know that they are under some kind of pressure to use their looks so that they can drug and rob dudes. Even there, they don't use that to justify just being mean and talking down to dudes. That's not how they do it. You get to the continent and you find that there's some sisters there that are nice looking. The only way that they don't act like that is if they don't realize that they're nice looking. You go into Ethiopia, you got beautiful women, you got cute women. It has a reputation for very gorgeous women. You have ugly women too, but the gorgeous ones don't necessarily always know how nice to look at they are. If they did know, they'd have a worse attitude probably. How do I know that? Well, you can see them in the States when they find out that they're nice to look at. Oh, okay, I'm going to act a goddamn fool. Or you can go into Rwanda. They may not know how nice looking they are. But in Uganda, when they're nice to look at, or kind of nice to look at, you see that attitude. Hell, you've seen Joe Amita on Ken Ganda channel. Yeah, she's nice to look at. She's cute. You got women in Southeast Asia that look as good and better than her with hella better attitude, way better attitudes. Don't even believe in polygyny as a old custom or anything. They see it as adultery, but they're just like, you know what? I understand the man's polygynous or polygamous nature. Just don't embarrass me with it. You go into where she's from, where Joamita's from, and polygamy is the order. Well, polygyny is the order of the day. I don't think I should have to share that man. Oh, fuck the shuck up. You don't want a man that you don't have to share. And sisters, even on the continent, could be some of the worst ones. They could be so anti-monogamy. Hell, ask Olivia Alexa. She got a video about that. It's that attitude. and the low beauty threshold that black women in many parts of the world tend to have in order to justify that damn attitude that takes a lot of BMPTs, be they IBMOR, SYSBM, or Passport Bros, or Passport Gang, or anything else we don't know about. BMPTs, black male passport travelers, are generally repelled from Africa for, at least when it comes to looking for a mate, be it a girlfriend or wife, because of that. And I don't think a lot of brothers have known how to articulate this in words when they think about it. But if now that you knew about this, I helped you articulate it in words. I helped you by thinking about how do you explain this in my native language. And I had S Jacques helping this, and Skylar Derouin's helping this as well. Africa got baddies. What kind of attitude do they have? When they're 1/4 of the way to being a baddie, what kind of attitude are they gonna have though? Now you go into Thailand, Cambodia, the Philippines, where they can also be ugly or drop dead gorgeous. What kind of attitude do they have when they're cute? You see the difference? I don't tolerate that stuff, and you shouldn't either. And when sisters start talking about, well, how come y'all ain't going to Africa? Well, for one, if we did, they would blame us in that. We've already been over what they would blame us for if we did go, if we were all focused on it. But by the same token, I want you guys, when I say us, I mean BMPTs. I'm SYSBM. But you know, we know what they would say. But when they start that, you can also say, okay, hold up. You know what? If what you want is for us to chase after specifically Black, Central, and West African women, we could do that. Or I wouldn't even say chase after. No, shuck that fit. But I mean, most of us do prefer y'all anyway. Here's what it takes for us to be re-imprinted by these other women that actually are becoming your stiff competition, and for us to not want you anymore. If you are 1/4 the way to being a baddie, your attitude is shucking fit. You compete to have the worst attitude. It's like all you compete to do is have a nasty, filthy, stank, funky attitude and then get away with it. Who the hell wants that? And why? That's what it comes down to. Now you can tell them that if you are so engaged to have these discussions with them. And truth be told, even when it comes to young brothers, if a young misguided man wants to ask you, well, why is it that y'all know, you can just say, hold up, bro. We actually do like sisters. South American, Caribbean, North American, from the continent. Sisters can be as attractive as anybody else, maybe even more so if you're looking also from the neck down as well as from the neck up. But here's the kicker. 1/4 of the way to being a baddie, just 1/4 of the way. And look at the attitude they're going to have. And when that young brother stops and starts looking at it, he starts thinking about that. When he goes, even if he disagrees with you at first, when he goes back to his school or his work environment or his university, wherever he is, when he goes, his apprenticeship classes, take your pick. When he goes, he's going to see, damn, you know what? I actually can't predict how this B word is going to act by how she looks. There's no biological link in between behavior and a woman's face. But with sisters, there is a link because it's in their minds already. And that doesn't stop at the shores, the North American shores of the Atlantic. It doesn't stop at the Caribbean shores of the Caribbean Sea. It doesn't stop at the South American shores of the Atlantic either. You can take that, you can go back across the Atlantic and you will see it in some parts of the continent and you will not see it in others. But it just depends on where you land. However, most of Central and West Africa from which we come, when I think about it, damn it, I realize that that's exactly what the walk you will see. I saw it in South Africa in 1 week, I could tell. I wasn't trying to get with none of them bras, nothing like that. I was already in discussion with my current wife. Didn't want none of them. But I began to quickly notice. In Durban, I saw it. The cute Indian women that were Muslim had better attitude towards me and were feeling me more than any nice looking black woman was. And they didn't think I was bad to look at. But they wasn't trying to get as much attention either. If I wanted to, I could be digging out a skinny Indian lady of South African citizen of Indian extraction and another wife. Not my cup of tea. But I wouldn't have had to go through a whole lot of rigmarole to convince her to marry me, and I wouldn't have had to pay a hell of an expensive dowry either. I don't think I would have had to go. I wouldn't think I would have had to really fight her dad that much about the marriage. Been like, okay, wait a minute. You want me to wait until she feels comfortable or she knows me or you know me, or do you want me to wait until I have a hell of a lot of money? Because if it's going to be about money, I'm out. And you can go tell her that you decided I don't make enough money. And more than likely, he would have been like, I don't want to tell her that. She wants to marry you. Okay, well, that's great. Now, again, are we waiting for her to know me better or you to know me better or both? That's a valid reason. It could have been that way. But you take an original South African sister that's 1/4 the way to being a baddie, and the attitude is just out there. Subtle if you don't know them, but you know it's there because the men will tell you. And that's South Africa. We don't come from there. We share ancestors with them from long before the transatlantic trade, but we don't come from South Africa. You start looking in Central and West Africa, and you ask the brothers from there and see. Show them some nice looking women and just be like, how would she be expected to act? Like, what would her attitude be like? Ask them. You see what I mean? That's why brothers look at the continent and be like, maybe I'll go visit some friends or something, but I'm not looking for anybody over there. Then when you factor that in, there's one other thing too. I will say this, you import any traditional wife into a Western nation and they can quickly lose that tradition. But one thing that does seem to stand out to me is that it is the West African women that are dropping their traditions and picking up that nasty, filthy, stank Westernisha attitude the fastest. Not the only ones, but the quickest. So I can see why AC would tell brothers, just don't even pursue them. Now, he says there are no exceptions. That's not really numerically possible, but I do understand why he would say don't pursue them, because why try to fish for the exceptions? If there are exceptions, let them come to you and show you who they are. Let them compete to convince you that they're the exception and show you who they are. Because there are other parts of the world where you got women that are also baddies and they don't have 1/4 the attitude. I hope that what I said helps out. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day. Thank you for flying with me again here on Jet Black Airways, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. And I advise you all to go to buymeacoffee.com/jet.black and to subscribe to either the business or the first class and get more content. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.